Ty, we've all had a few hours to process the news of Lavell Edwards passing, but that doesn't necessarily make it any easier. What are your emotions like as you reflect on Lavell and his life and legacy?
Yeah, just gratitude and love for Lavell. I think I had a chance to go over and visit before we went to the bowl game because I'd heard his health was kind of declining, and I wanted to make sure and get over and see him in case it was the last time. And so it was man. It was really good to spend a little bit of time with him and just tell him one more time that you appreciated him.
Ty, I know this is difficult, but can you sum up what he meant to you?
Yeah, I think for all of us, he was that father figure away from home. When you leave Texas and you're 19 years old and first time away from home, he's that calming influence away from home, and just kind of set the foundation where he just created an atmosphere that I think players and student athletes could thrive in, because it was a calming influence and there was never any yelling and all of those things. It was just a guy that was coaching and loved the players and really kind of set that foundation for us to be able to be successful as student athletes. And then, when you get done playing, you get to know him more on a personal level and spend time with him outside of that environment. And, you come to find what a character he really is. He's fun-loving but very competitive, and really enjoyed those times after being a player for him to really get to know him as a person.
You mentioned, being a young kid from Texas and coming in. Like, what do you remember about the first time you met Lavell?
Probably that face we've all seen on TV. He's sitting behind his desk when we came for a visit, and my dad and I walked in, and he's sitting there, and he always looked like he had that frown on his face, but it wasn't a frown, just the way his face was shaped. So it was. But it was good. You just had a lot of respect walking into that office and knowing what he'd done with the program and how far he'd taken it. So just, respect and kind of a little bit in awe when you first walk in there.
1990 Heisman Trophy winner and one of Lavell Edwards' many talented quarterbacks, Ty Detmer, with us on BYU Sports Nation. One of my favorite images in all of BYU sports history is that of Lavell sitting next to you when you were in Hawaii receiving news that you won the Heisman Trophy, Ty, and he reached over and hugged you. And I watched that again today and can't help but feel how genuinely happy he was for you. It was never about him or anything that he accomplished, but always about his players. What do you remember about that moment?
Yeah, for sure. Looking back at the time, I think as a player, it's like, it'd be great to be in New York and going through this whole thing, But then afterwards, the neat thing about it was that everybody, the team, Lavell, Glenn Tuckett, everybody got to be there and sitting right next to you, where you're not, kind of front and center sitting next to the other candidates and that kind of thing. So that was really, a special time, and then the last time that's really ever happened. And so just, super excited that the whole team could be a part of it, but especially Lavell sitting right there front and center. But like you said, it wasn't ever about him or what he'd done and all the things that he'd accomplished. He was just generally happy for the players all the time for any success that we ever had.
Ty, you mentioned, the look, the Lavell look that he had, but it really didn't reflect the person or his character. What can you tell everybody about the type of person that he was?
Yeah, just I think his legacy speaks for itself in that more than anything. I've never met a coach out, any of the old coaches, Spike Dykes and all these guys, Ron McBride, that all these guys that he's played against and coached against, none of them, have ever said a bad thing about him. That they all love him and love to be around him, and that's just the type of guy he was. Like I said, when you get to know him outside of the football side of things, he's fun-loving and just a character. And you don't see that as the general fan. There's general people out there. They kind of saw the stoic, Lavell look that he had, but all the coaches that he knew and spent a lot of time with and went on vacations with and those kind of things, all those guys, man, every time I'd see them, they couldn't say enough good things about him, and that's just the legacy he's left behind is just being, a better person than he was a coach, and he was a great coach.
Jason and I were just talking about the fact that we can't collectively think of any one bad thing that has ever been said about Lavell Edwards. And talking with friends and relatives and other BYU football personalities today, it's just he's the guy that makes you want to be a better man and in all facets of life. And what a testament to him that fact is. Ty, what did he do for you in your personal life and helping you develop into the man that you want to become?
Yeah, I think just, like I said, the foundation he set for us as players, and one of the things when I got into coaching, my first job was this little private school, and we were 0-10, and I asked him, I said, what did you do at BYU? How did you get it turned around? And he said, we quit thinking about all the things we didn't have and just focused on what we did have. And I thought that was a great piece of advice. And so that's something I've always taken with me, and just his attitude, in that regard. Never really, worried about the negative things that were going on, always positive and looking forward. And you hear Kalani talking all the time about Lavell's demeanor after the games. Whether you won or lost, it didn't change. He wanted you to enjoy seeing your family and not, beat yourself up after a loss. You're going to work and you're going to try to correct things you did wrong, but you're not going to beat yourself up, and, life goes on. And so I think, as a impressionable college athlete, those things, kind of filter down and stick with you all the time.
Ty, what were the conversations like, and maybe what advice did Lavell give to you as you talked about making that transition to being the offensive coordinator at BYU? I'm sure you talked to him before making that decision. What advice did he give you as you embarked in this part of your career?
Yeah, just always kind of the same stuff. It was more confidence building in me because I hadn't been at that level at that in that stage before coaching, and so he always built you up and hey, you're ready for this. I'd love to see you here coaching, and you can do this, and just always building you up and making you feel like you can do it. And he's constantly telling you, I don't have any doubts. This is where you need to be, and those kind of things. And it's been, for the last 10 years, he's been saying those things. So this year, before the season came on and before that decision was made, it was the same thing. You'll be great. You'll do a great job. So, that more than anything makes you feel good and confident that you can go in there and make it happen.
There aren't many men in the world that can call you a paper boy, Ty, and at the same time make you feel pretty good, right?
Yeah, Pee Wee Herman, Paperboy, that was his favorite story. So, yeah, but how can you get mad at the guy? He took a chance on me and gave me a shot, and it turned out great being able to play for him and being part of that.
Ty Detmer with us on BYU Sports Nation, reflecting on the life and legacy of Lavell Edwards, who has passed away at the age of 86. We've talked a lot about Lavell, obviously, but his wife, Patti Edwards, and the relationship he had with her was also influential on how players viewed him, not just as a coach, but as a father figure and as a husband. When you look at Patti and Lavell and their relationship, what comes to mind, Ty?
Well, I think having gone on different vacations with him a few different times, you saw the love and respect he had for her, because it's not easy being a coach's wife, but she was a great role model, I think, for our players' wives. A lot of guys are married at BYU, and Patti would always meet with the players' wives once or twice a year and just kind of coach them up on what to do. And I know my wife's very fond of Patti and the influence she had on her, but seeing them together and knowing that when football was done, Patti was gonna have Lavell out there doing all the things she's been missing. So but that was the respect he had for her. He would go and do them and enjoy the time he had with her and away from the football field.
Ty, Lavell's legacy is obviously still very strong in this football program today. I mean, obviously the team plays at Lavell Edwards Stadium. Everywhere you go, you see parts of what Coach Edwards cemented here over the almost 3 decades that he was in Provo coaching BYU. What does that say about him, and as a former player, to be able to have his legacy just as strong today as it ever has been?
Yeah, I think it's a great tribute to him, and he's the guy that really put BYU on the map and got this whole thing started and got him to national prominence. And so it's only fitting that the stadium's named after him and that he's still thought of as a hero in Provo and in the state of Utah. And so, I think everybody in the state, no matter who you root for, they all respect and appreciate what Lavell's done for football in the state of Utah. And, you look at the coaching legacy around, guys that played for him and guys that coached for him. There's a huge Lavell Edwards coaching tree, around the country, let alone the state of Utah. But I think it's great, and that's the way it should have been all along. Even when he retired, he still needs to be around the program and has been, and kind of still the face for BYU football, even though he's retired.
Ty, can't thank you enough for the time on a very emotional day, and we really appreciate you taking some moments with us to reflect on Lavell and his coaching career and the impact he left on you and your teammates and all of BYU.
You bet. Have a great day.